Oh my gosh. Well, if you read the title, you know what this is. There's a bad glare. Yeah, that's annoying to look at. If I can't see, it doesn't matter because you guys can see. So, let's jump into it. So, if you're new to my channel, my name is Mackenzie Jump, and I make infertility related videos here on YouTube. And I know if you've seen my feed at all, you're like, you mean you used to, but you don't anymore. But I do. There is just excuses. That's what's coming out of my mouth. I don't have an excuse, but I do have an apology for all of the amazing people that I've connected with through this platform. And I have just flat left you hanging. Like, there's just no excuse or anything in the book. So, my apologies. But if it makes it better, I am pregnant. I am currently 25 weeks today, actually. And I am just here to kind of make an update video. How we got here, how long it took us. I'll show you a bump date and then kind of my plan for videos over the next couple weeks. So I'll do that first so that way all of my people kind of know. So we did IVF and we had our egg retrieval in March. And then our transfer, we did a frozen transfer because we had to, which I'll get into that more. We did that in April. So currently 25 weeks pregnant today. It is a boy. So super excited. And yeah, it was just honestly an amazing experience. Of course, infertility is never something I would wish upon anybody ever. But I will say, when you've gone through infertility, you have a whole different kind of appreciation and experience for pregnancy in all aspects. Whether you're currently pregnant, not pregnant, wanting to get pregnant, it's just a totally different kind of experience. So I've been very thankful on that level for having gone through what we've gone through, because this pregnancy has been amazing. And I will say, like, compared to some other people, I think I've gotten it pretty easy so far. But like, hey, I've worked for that, so I've worked hard for that. But I will say that pregnancy brain is a real thing, and getting out of breath at this point is a real thing. First thing. But yeah, anyways, it's just a whole different experience after you've been through infertility. So my plan for some videos is I did take a video of me finding out that I'm pregnant. Now, with IVF, it's like so skewed because you know what day you're supposed to take a test, and you're supposed to go in for blood work, and everything is so planned with infertility in general, but especially with IVF, that it's hard for there to be that surprise factor. And I told myself I was not going to test like a psychopath. 100% did. Now, granted, I wanted to like test out the trigger shot, kind of watch that change too, which is necessary for some people's peace of mind to know that if they do actually have a positive test, that it's positive because you're pregnant, not positive because it's a trigger shot. But I tested for sure, and I did get to the point where I tested it out, and I still waited a couple of days. So the video that I'm going to post, which I'll post tomorrow. So I'll post this video tonight. I'll post the next one tomorrow, which will be Wednesday night. It is like the first time that I saw a positive line on a test since I had taken them after testing out the trigger shot. So I went back and forth on if I was going to post it or not, because, and this is so stupid to say because I'm not even going to say it. I just didn't know if I was going to post it, but I am, because I want to be able to look back on it, know that it's not going to go anywhere because it's on YouTube, and just share it with you guys. It's cheesy and it's funny, and my reaction to things when I get surprised or emotional, like, I'll cry, but like hysterical laughter is a huge thing for me. So when you see it and you're just like you're grinning because you don't know whether to be embarrassed for me or to laugh with me, it's probably because I'm crying and then I laugh and then I cry and then I laugh. So it's just fun. Anyway, so I'll post that tomorrow. And then my next video that I'm going to make is going to be basically a review of CNY fertility. So that's who we went through for our IVF everything. And I will say I had an excellent experience. And when we were looking for IVF clinics, I specifically typed that into the YouTube search bar and could not find hardly anything. Couldn't find hardly any reviews, video reviews on IVF clinics. So it's important for me to make a review experience video with CNY. So that's what's ahead. Otherwise, kind of just a brief IVF experience video and a little history kind of situation. So we have been trying for 4 years. I was diagnosed with PCOS about 4 years ago, and the infertility side definitely comes from me. So we had him tested. We went through all of the different screenings to see what was wrong, what was keeping us from getting pregnant. And at the end of the day, it came down to me having PCOS, and I do not ovulate on my own. And I don't respond to really any medication other than high dose medication if I'm on infertility medication. So we had done all of the rounds of Clomid that we could do. We were to the point of almost the max amount of rounds of Femara. I can never say it right. Letrozole, I think it's the same thing. We were almost to the max amount of those that we could do. And to be honest, we were to a point in our TTC journey that we were just coming to terms with knowing or thinking that pregnancy wasn't going to be something that was in the cards for us. So at that time, I knew all about IVF. I hadn't dove into it too hard because it wasn't something feasible financially for us to do at that time, at least, especially. So it wasn't something I wanted to kind of build my hopes up with, just to know that it's not something that we were going to be able to do. So we weren't really necessarily on a time crunch, but I'm turning 30 this month. My husband is 42, so he's 12 years older than I am. And I just knew that possibly by the time that IVF was even on the radar, it will have likely been, it would have been too late on our timeline. So I know what people say to not set timelines when you're trying to have a baby, especially when you struggle with getting pregnant, but the reality is every person's life is different. And it was important to Jerry, which is my husband, for him to not be really old when our child was going through high school. And there's just a lot of factors that play into it. So it was something that we weren't entertaining because we figured by the time we would be ready financially, it would have been 4 or 5 years. And that just wasn't something that interested us. So we had come to terms with our infertility, and I was sort of to the point where I was trying to become okay with not having a biological child. We did last year, a year ago this month, we did get our license to be foster parents. So that is something that's always been super heavy on our heart. Jerry grew up in a home where his mother was a foster mother, and he was blessed with a bunch of foster siblings and had the experience on that side of things. And so being a foster home was important for us, and it's something we will continue to do. We just have put it on hold for right now. After our last placement had left, it was just a decision that we made. At first, I felt very guilty about that because it was sort of what I thought was selfish, that I wanted to have the sole focus about my pregnancy. And I had a really, really hard time with that because, if you know anything about the foster care system, these kids need homes. And for me to say that I didn't want to take a placement until after the baby was here felt very, very selfish. But then after a lot of like thinking, I had to step back and say, look at what you've been through over the last 4 years of trying to get to where you are right now. And like, I deserve to totally soak it all in. I deserve to experience all of it. And if I want all of my attention to be on that, and I don't want to feel like I'm sharing attention, then I don't have to. Like, I don't have to do that. I just wanted to really experience what it was like to be pregnant. That's what I wanted. I wanted to really soak it in because at the end of the day, this could be the one and only time I will ever be pregnant. And I wanted to be healthy mentally, because being in the foster system is stressful and heartbreaking and sad and emotional. And I just didn't want to bring that into my pregnancy because I know how important that is. And again, I felt so guilty for that because these kids go through way harder things than I am or have. And that was hard to get past, but at the end of the day, I really wanted to experience this, and that's the decision that we made. So fostering is 100% not out of the picture for us in our lives. It's just on hold for right now, and we're just really enjoying the pregnancy. I've had very minimal symptoms. So the first trimester, I did have morning sickness, but it wasn't the the throwing up kind of morning sickness. It was just nauseous to the point that you could probably throw up, but you haven't. So that was pretty annoying, but it was bearable. And at the end of the day, I was like, hey, whatever. Like, I'm pregnant. So if the world in my body wants me to think that I could throw up, but I won't, then heck, I'll just feel like I want to throw up and I don't. So whatever. What are you getting into? Other than that, symptom-wise, first trimester is really the only times that I experienced anything, and it was the morning sickness. I got some pretty gnarly migraines. That was pretty much it. I am a dreamer. I have lots of dreams all the time. I always have. They've always been super vivid. But that was probably, hindsight especially, probably the biggest teller that I was pregnant. Was they don't joke around when they tell you that pregnancy, especially early pregnancy, vivid dreams are kind of like a early pregnancy sign. Oh my God. And I even told myself, I'm like, I have so many dreams and they're so vivid already that I don't think I would be able to differentiate a pregnancy dream from my normal dreams. 100% could. Absolutely nuts. So I did have one of those before I actually got the positive test. So I try not to look into it too much. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's the hormones or medications, whatever. No, dude, it's some serious stuff. So then I just enjoyed them after that. After I found out I was actually pregnant, I was just like, this is weird and bizarre and awesome. So, anyways, so yes, we did IVF. We went through CNY Fertility. They've got, I think, 7 different clinics across the U.S. The closest to us was Colorado Springs, so that is where we did. I was pretty open to a fresh or frozen transfer. We ended up having to do a frozen transfer because I developed OHS. It's basically a hyperstimulation of your ovaries. And what usually causes that is the IVF medication, especially if you have to prolong the stim period. So I think we had to do 15 days of stim medications, which is like 3 to 5 days extra than the average IVF patient. So it was rough. Like, I made it to day 10 pretty well and just kept going in for my ultrasounds, which you go in for every other day. They just basically check how your ovaries and how your eggs are reacting to the medication, so they know whether to increase the dosage or lessen it, or kind of get an idea of when your transfer date would be. And all the way up to day 10, they really hadn't done much of anything. And I was petrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I will have gone through all of this and my freaking body won't do what it's supposed to do. So they actually called me and they're like, well, we could cancel this cycle and start next month. I'm like, no, like, one, that's not an option because I can't afford all these medications again. So it's now or never. And she's like, cool, let's do it. She's like, let's increase them. So they did. And they started to finally grow. So day 15, took my trigger shot. 1 or 2 days later, we were in Colorado doing the egg retrieval. And that went super well. I was hurting at that point, and like OHSS is for real. Like bloating, unreal bloating, just pain in your abdomen. I couldn't poop. Like it definitely sucked. So once they like got in there for the retrieval, they were like, yeah, no, she's not going to do a fresh transfer. My body just wasn't prepared at that point for it. It had been under so much stress from the meds that it would have been a waste of an egg. So did the retrieval, retrieved 14 eggs. I will say I was kind of bummed with that number because with PCOS, I really expected them to get a crap ton of eggs. I was like, this is the one time that PCOS is going to serve me right. And 14. But you know what? I told myself I was not going to obsess over numbers because I was fortunate to even have had the opportunity to do IVF, which, by the way, to our surprise, my grandparents told us that they would pay for us to do IVF at the end of last year. So forgot to tell you that. I literally dropped to the ground, bawled my eyes out, and it was amazing. So you guys might know that story if you've seen my previous videos. Anyways, so got 14 eggs and we went home. 4 of them ended up being fertilized, were able to be fertilized, and then we ended up with 2 embryos. Only 2. I will say when they call me with the number 4, I was like, this is it, dude. This is it. This is it. But you know what? We'll just see. So ended up with 2 embryos. We did not do genetic testing. We went back and forth on that for a while. One of the reasons was the cost, because if you do genetic testing, you have to basically commit to testing all of your eggs. So having 2, it would have ended up being fine, but had we had 10 that made it, I think it costs like $500 or $600 per embryo to test. And I just didn't want to do that. And if you think about it, in a normal cycle, you get pregnant on a normal cycle, you don't get to test which egg works, or that's not something you get to do. So I was like, you know what, the odds are already in our favor, right? Because you take all of this medication for your eggs to grow, and then part of the process of IVF, when they're actually fertilizing the egg, is they take the best swimmers. So they find the best sperm, the most motile sperm, the healthiest looking sperm, and those are the ones that they use to implant in the egg. So it's like, it's already like in our favor, right? Like, so I was just like, it's fine. We don't need it. So we didn't do genetic testing. We froze on day 3. I asked a few people at the clinic, like, if people had a preference, if the doctors had a preference, and they said, honestly, whether you freeze at day 3 or day 5, they both have their benefits. So we ended up choosing day 3. I can't really remember the reason, but that's why. I'll look back and find out and put that in my next video. But we chose day 3. I went home, had to induce a cycle because I don't have one. And the next month, which was April, we went in for a transfer. And quality of eggs were really good, so that helped. I typically have a really thick uterine lining, so that helped. And I felt great, and we transferred. And 7 days after the transfer, I took a test, and it was positive. So amazing experience. So amazing. And pregnancy is so much fun. I love it so much. And it's just been awesome. when you go through infertility, you have so many people rooting for you, especially if you're vocal and you share your experience with others. And we had gotten to the point where I had. And so when I announced on Facebook, which I think I waited until I was around 10 weeks, it was just the outpouring of love and support and excitement from everybody was just the coolest thing on the planet. And telling my friends and my family was so much fun. Telling Jerry was so much fun. Yeah, it's been so awesome. And I feel so lucky and so fortunate. And I just feel like I'm supposed to be where I'm at right now. And we went through all of this just so I could really experience where we're at right now. And I love it so much. So I'm just enjoying pregnancy and taking it all in, enjoying like doing the nursery, which we'd had a lot of stuff for fostering, but everything was hand-me-downs or secondhand because you just never know what age you're going to get. So I didn't want to dump a bunch of money into a baby room or fostering when I didn't even know if we were going to have babies. So I have been gifted with a new crib from my grandparents and been able to buy all baby clothes. Has been so much fun, and I am just super stoked. So it's a boy. We do have a name picked out. I'm going to wait, I think, to tell people until he's born. I've been telling people if they're asking, like our friends and family know, but I'm not going to like publicly announce it or use his name until he's born. So, but I am in love with his name. In love with it. When we're picking out names, girl names were so much easier. We had already agreed on a girl name. Boy names were a lot harder, and we both liked the other's choice but loved our own. So yeah, it was just a fun, but I like held my ground. I'm like, no, I love this name because the middle name is his and his son's and his dad's and his grandpa's and great grandpa's. So the middle name we already knew what it would be, but yeah, so excited. So I'll show you a little bump. I'm in a dress, which holy moly, being pregnant during the summer, especially not super pregnant, has been perfect because I can wear sundresses all the time. So anyways, we'll see if you can see the, probably you can't really see it. Well, if you don't follow me on Instagram, I do post a lot of pictures on there, like on my story and stuff, so it's kind of fun. But pregnancy bellies are so fun, so much fun, especially right now because I'm not huge, but obviously big enough to know that I'm pregnant if I wear tight clothes especially. So it's so much fun. We are doing maternity pictures in November. Stoked about that. You're excited for baby. Yeah, I'm just loving everything about pregnancy. So yeah, that's my update. Again, I'm so sorry for leaving you guys hanging. Oh, I'm such a horrible person. But I'm back in the rhythm. Everyone knows, I should know, like, I have stuff to talk about. I just didn't want to come back and have just redundant videos. Like this one is your typical Mackenzie video where it lasts a long time and I just talk and talk and talk. But my plan of action for videos is I'll post my finding out video, and then I'm going to make a review video of our experience with CNY. That's super important for me. And then at some point I am going to make our cost of IVF using CNY. So I have a pretty good lineup. He's the sweetest. He's a Shar-Pei Golden Retriever mix, and he's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And then once we get the nursery done, I'll obviously do a little tour of that. You can see all the puking baby stuff behind me. But we plan to do like an accent wall behind the crib, and I actually just today got a package that I ordered with his name and those cool like big wooden letters that go above cribs. Stoked about that. Super excited. So that's it. That's our life. Huh? Excited for baby. Show him your cute face. Yeah, we're super excited. So thank you guys for hanging in there with me. It's been awesome to talk to you guys. I've met a lot of people that, you know, I follow up with a lot. Some of you are going through IVF, and I've been talking to you about that. So it's just super cool. And I love all of the support and the connection and all of that. So follow me on Instagram if you haven't. My handle is Mackenzie JJ or Mackenzie JoJo. Anyways, look at my name, Mackenzie Jump. You'll find me on there. And I will see you next time. Bye.